Hi, I'm Debbie Sprains, Chief Learning Officer of Rocky Mountain Cannabis Consulting. I want to talk to you about how hard your job is and to share a secret with you. You've gone to webinars and read blogs. Maybe you even did additional state track and trace training, yet you're still confused and frustrated. Well, I've got a secret that will solve all your problems if you take the time. So RMCC was started by Brianne Ramsey in 2018. And Brianne's background is in strategically planning the expansion of cannabis businesses, compliance, and seed to sale technology. And she's known for taking on the most challenging cannabis compliance audits, large scale seed to sale technology migrations, and is highly skilled in tech crisis support. Her career background teaching and supporting clients with cannabis operations, compliance, and inventory control needs, they're unique in the cannabis industry. After years of managing multiple facilities and departments at one of the largest Colorado vertically integrated cannabis businesses since the inception of cannabis legalization, Brianne understands firsthand challenges that cannabis operators face when you're managing your compliant business. So I really do encourage you to listen to our podcast where you can hear Bree tell her story that includes her firsthand experience with large-scale audits. She's passionate about compliant cannabis, so she started RMCC as a way to support a sustainable cannabis community. So it's really not lip service when we say that RMCC knows just how hard it is to run your business with so much inherent risk and what it costs your bottom line. Now, I read a blog post by Lowers and Associates from March 24th in 2020, and it was titled Loss in the Cannabis Industry Layers of Risk. And it said that at the highest levels of complexity are facilities that integrate multiple aspects of manufacturing and distribution, right? You guys are growing, processing, packaging, distributing, and selling those products, and you're increasing value every step of the way. But as you add more integration, you're adding in more pearls that could impact your bottom line. I mean, isn't that the truth? We've got distribution, we're going to have accidents, product recalls, regulatory changes. I mean, just what about theft and plant disease, your property being damaged, just your personal liability. It's just so much risk. And even the smartest operators who have all the training are still frustrated and honestly scared because it's not just you, it's a team. It's a huge burden, both emotionally and financially, that you're bearing, right? Your personal success relies on the success of your operation, including all your employees and their families and other operations that are in your supply chain network, right? You're shouldering the ripple effects as we're all working at building a strong, profitable industry that's worthy of respect and that people want to invest in. So that's why Bree brought me to RMCC to help build a strong, profitable industry by sharing what we've learned along with our mistakes so that you don't have to. We know you're losing money daily. 1 weak link, ends up being a risk to your entire operation. Think about that simple manifest that's missing a signature could cost you up to $10,000. I mean, if you're like me, I'm sure you have a lot of anxiety worrying about what your team does and does not know until it's too late with discrepancy errors or violations, or loss of license, or, worst case scenario, jail time. Now, all your tech systems that work for your operation, of course, are taking your time and money. And you've invested large sums of money into technology to help ease that compliance burden. Maybe you hadn't anticipated the cost of repeated instruction and worthless webinars, right? Training is either costing you a lot of money or you've come to the realization that training isn't even worth your time. Let me tell you, that mindset is even more dangerous. Companies that invest in training are rewarded with an average of a 24% increase in their profit margin. Don't take my word for it. Forbes reports that with learning and development strategies in their organization, operations realized a 41% reduction in absenteeism and a 59% less turnover. That's awesome, right? So this is what translated into an increase in profitability. So if you're not looking for the right training, you're leaking profits. To quote that article, engaged employees show up every day with passion, purpose, presence, and energy. So I've got the secret recipe for you. But first, I want to tell you a story. It was early 1998. I was a very young single mom with 2 kids and no college education. I had taught myself coding at the public library because it was free. I was trying to find a good job and fast so I could put food on the table for my kids. I'll be honest, I had lied about my income to the property manager so that I could rent a 2-bedroom apartment in a community with good schools. So we were in the burbs of Baltimore, and by day I was downtown, found a job tracking and tracing legal documents from the state to our bank and then to the feds. And it was not going well. I'd show up at 6 a.m. and leave at 4:30 to fight traffic to get home to my kids. I'd bring home stacks of mortgage files and worked literally until midnight just to try and catch up. See, I had been hired because the late fees and the violations became too expensive for the bank to ignore. Their big pockets thought an entry-level data entry role, me, would solve all their problems. So with 5 minutes of explanation, I was burdened with revamping the final document department and getting the 2 years of outdated land records located, corrected, and to the federal government for government insurance, right? Maybe you know Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they are the siblings of Sally Mae. That's who was breathing down my neck. I was scared, was overwhelmed. I was given this huge responsibility so nonchalantly. I really felt alone and completely unsupported. So as I dug deeper into what the job actually entailed, it was only then that I realized I was personally at risk of jail time if we remained out of compliance, right? My hands and my signatures were now in the land records. I thought to myself, like, Debbie, what did you do? You know, in my drive to provide security for my family, I had unintentionally brought on even more risk. So the status quo wasn't working. I was more scared than ever. So I took it upon myself to learn all the ins and outs of the secondary mortgage lending market. I earned certificates and I shared that knowledge with my new final documents team. I ended up merging 2 data systems so that I could create weekly manifests that reduced our errors by 100%, more hand jamming, and it increased our productivity by 80%. But in my 21-year career there, I eventually became vice president of learning architecture for the bank. That was the first project I had launched, and I was asked to take on all bank training, not just mortgage. So I managed approximately 10,000 employees, their learning strategies, and their training plans. So I started doing that work remotely in 2003, just due to family setback, but I still rose to the occasion, and I ended up leveraging technology by developing our national, it was New York to Hawaii e-learning training strategy. So, you know, once my legacy as vice president was established, I was often asked by my peers to share how I transformed training and learning at the bank. And in these conversations, Coca-Cola, the nuclear industry, Inspire Brands, ServiceMaster, and some other large corporations, they sought my expertise on a contract basis. So by that time, my kids are fed and grown, right? I didn't need the bank's support anymore. In fact, it occurred to me they needed mine. I really felt unfulfilled. I realized I was really passionate about actual people being at risk, not faceless corporations with bottomless pockets, right? They just get bailed out. What about those people really on the front line, doing the work, putting themselves at risk? Who's helping them, right? So I asked myself where I might do the most good. And took me a little while, but finally the light bulb went off and I started talking with my friends in the Denver cannabis community. I've been a lifelong advocate and consumer, and I knew then with all these things happening in my life that helping to grow cannabis operations with learning and development, that was my true calling. So really, again, sharing hard to find information on the best way to do our job compliantly and efficiently with engaging effective learning for the cannabis community. I mean, that's my dream come true, really. So in my search, a mutual friend introduced me to Bree, and she asks me to join RMCC as our Chief Learning Officer, a CLO. And together we lead a team of women who have 30 collective years of hands-on experience in all areas of the cannabis supply chain. We're talking cultivation, testing, manufacturing, distribution, retail, in not just Colorado. And I mean, I think RMCC, we've got clients in over 14 states. The list is always changing. So it is RMCC's goal to provide support and guidance to you in understanding compliance laws and regulations, how to do your job better, and so you can make money, right? To feel safe and to have a profitable operation. So my first recruit was Lindsay Kincaid, who is our Chief Compliance Officer. And the first time I met Lindsay, she was riding down our main drag here in Edgewater, Colorado, and she had her dog Frohickey in her sidecar. And so we were walking down to our neighborhood farmer's market, and as she passed, I told my partner, I'm going to introduce myself to her. So over beers and deep sci-fi discussion, I learned not only was Lindsay the bass player in an all-female jam band, but she also brewed her own beer and was a technical writer for a huge financial institution. My woman crush was firmly established at that point. So when RMCC grew and we needed our own Chief Compliance Officer, I immediately began recruiting Lindsay. So Lindsay Kincaid and her team are bringing their expertise in monitoring the regulatory changes nationwide throughout the day, and they communicate those changes to our team in real time. So we're able to do that in real time through, we've got state-specific trackers, video updates, and our sources of truth are state-specific compliance guides. I mean, you already know that compliance regulations aren't just state level, right? We've got economic and societal events. I mean, good grief, 2020 has just been bizarro. So Lindsay says that in cannabis, our lives, our goals, and our interests, they're intertwined. We're united in a similar purpose, and that is to make cannabis available to the people who need it and to create an environment where cannabis businesses can thrive. So without a CCO and an expert team, I can only imagine how lost and confused someone would feel. With so many different agencies and no universal method of communication, some operators decide that their compliance officers need Lindsay's and RMCC's team to keep them in the loop. We've got compliance marketplace products, but that's not the secret. You're probably here because you've already read all the updates and you've already got your SOPs, but it's still not happening for your operation, and maybe you're getting a little fed up. So with Bree's insider knowledge of the cannabis supply chain, a veteran compliance officer, and my deep practice of improving learning and performance, RMCC has developed that secret piece that you've been missing, right? Your business is unique. Your individual goals and your passions, they probably weren't addressed in any of the previous training that you've been given, right? Generally, training is piecemealed together with no really clear direction other than we're going to train you to use our technology, right? Just think about that for a second. The training wasn't really even made for you, right? It's not the technology solution's fault. It's their reality. The training is made by the provider so that you can use their system for tasks, not to holistically help you to do your whole job the most efficiently and compliantly you can. That's not their role. And then if you consider that technology provider isn't the only provider that you're dealing with, right? That's kind of where the piecemeal comes in. So each provider is training you on their system guides, and then they send you on your way with some ongoing support for just that specific system. But it's up to you to ensure that new hires get the same knowledge and the same best practices that you did or you've learned as you've used those systems. right? Even an ERP is just teaching you to navigate their ERP. But you're trying to run an actual business, right? Not repeatedly train your staff on software, right? You're trying to do the right thing and you're spending so much money and yet you still can't make heads or tails of it, right? So what's RMC's secret? With the expertise of Brianne Ramsey, founder and CEO, Lindsay Kincaid, CCO, and me, Debbie Springs, the CLO of Rocky Mountain Cannabis Consulting, we've developed a solution, which is our secret to your next step in operational profitability. We're providing you access to an exclusive one-on-one. Now, clients have told us that with our expert guidance, with their unique operations, they could not have reached their level of success without us. Now, during your exclusive hot seat coaching session, you'll be provided one-on-one coaching and mentoring from our RMCC experts with proven track record of improving our clients' operational efficiencies by learning how we built the farm, right? Because that's really what the hot seat is all about. You're going to be given the opportunity to learn exactly how RMCC runs a compliant cannabis operation with strategic methods that you can apply to your operation immediately. Now, those that engage with RMCC for our expert guidance in the past have realized up to $10,000 cost savings per employee. And that's because before your session, you're going to outline top 3 to 5 trouble spots, and then you'll share them with us. So you're putting RMCC in the hot seat, and you're going to get secrets that we don't typically share in any large group settings. We're going to use our 30 years of collective experience to talk with you one-on-one and together come up with a plan for you to tackle those trouble spots. Your hot seat will be recorded and, of course, made available to you exclusively so that you don't lose our insights and guidance. I am so excited to offer this to our cannabis community. If you're dedicated to improving your operations, compliance knowledge, and hopefully increase those profits, please secure a hot seat now, and we will see you soon.